Welcome to the another lecture of particle physics. So here we will discuss about the charge conjugation. So basically charge conjugation is actually invariant in case of classical electrodynamics. That is, when charge conjugation is applied in classical electrodynamics, it reverses the sign of charge and it also reverses the direction of potential or field involved in it. So overall we can say that the Lorentz force is actually invariant, or in case of classical electrodynamics, charge conjugation is always invariant. Now, charge conjugation, what does it mean? It simply changes the sign of charge and nothing else it does. Okay, so anything related to the change of sign of a charge will also get influenced. So we basically thought that charge conjugation can convert a particle into its antiparticle by simply changing the charge of the particle. So for example, we have a proton and we apply a charge conjugation operator on it. So we will get an antiproton. Okay. Now it is something of a misnomer. Misnomer means that it is kind of inaccurate term. Why it is inaccurate? Because when we change the charge, when we reverse the charge, the only thing that changes were charge, baryon number, lepton number, and strangeness, charm, beauty, and top quark. These numbers were changed, but it leaves the mass, energy, momentum, and spin untouched. So these are the factors that were not changing, but only few factors, or you can say the internal quantum numbers, were only changing. So we said that it is not applicable. It is not a perfect term to be used for for converting a particle into antiparticle. So we can say that charge conjugation is not actually operator which can convert a particle into antiparticle, because it leaves some of the criteria. Some of the terms like mass, energy, momentum. Now, what are the eigenvalues of charge conjugation? So the eigenvalues of charge conjugation is basically plus minus 1. Okay. So if suppose we have a proton and it is an eigenstate of charge conjugation, then when we apply this charge conjugation operator, it can either have the eigenvalue plus or minus, but it will definitely change into its antiparticle. Okay. So proton and antiproton are differ at most by a sign, and that sign will be plus to minus or minus to plus as we use the operator, which means that they represent the same physical state. As I told that mass, energy, momentum, these are not changed, so obviously the physical states will remain the same. Now, a system consisting of spin half particle and its antiparticle in a configuration of orbital angular momentum and total spin constitutes an eigenstate of C. Now, what does this mean? This means that for a particle, or you can say a system of particle that consists of angular momentum and also spin, the eigenvalue of charge conjugation will become minus 1 to the power L plus Ls. Okay, so mesons actually fit to this category, and mesons have a lot of categories like pseudoscalar, vector, and then pseudo vectors, axial, like this. So these are basically differentiated by their values of angular momentum and spin. So when L is equal to 0, S is equal to 0, in case of pseudoscalar we get C is, the eigenvalue of charge conjugation is plus 1, and in case of vectors where S is equals to 1 whereas L is equals to 0, we get charge conjugation eigenvalue as minus 1. Now to be remembered that charge conjugation is actually a multiplicative quantum number. It is as similar to the parity. Parity is also a multiplicative quantum number. Similarly, charge conjugation is also a multiplicative quantum number. Now in case of photon is actually the intermediate particle of electromagnetic field, or you can say the mediator particle, and photon has some spin. I think let me tell you this, that you can search for it, that why the photon has a charge conjugation of minus 1. You will get the answer once you search internet for its value of L or its value of S. So it will have a charge conjugation of minus 1 because the value of L plus S is equals to 1 in case of photon. Now suppose we have a decay where pi naught particle is decaying into 2 photon. Now we know that the in case of pi node, if we use the charge conjugation, it does not affect the particle because of its neutral charge. So the charge conjugation eigenvalue will be +1. But in case of photon, it is -1. Therefore, we need two photon to be we need two photon as a product so that their multiplicative number is +1. We can also have 4 photons or 6 photons or 8 photons. I mean, it must be an even number, but it cannot be an odd number. As I told that for a system of n photons where the eigenvalue of charge conjugation for photon is -1, if number of n photons are released, then we can have -1 to the power n, obviously. So we don't have pi node in odd number of photons because of the charge conjugation violation. Okay, now charge conjugation is actually not a symmetry of weak interactions. The weak interaction is the only interaction that violates almost all of the conservation law except momentum, energy, or basic conservation law, but it violates most of the conservation laws like charge conjugation, CP violation, like parity violation, and a lot of things that it violates. So let's see how. If we use charge conjugation in left-handed neutrino, then it will convert this neutrino into anti-neutrino with left-handed. Okay, so as we discussed about helicity, the helicity of neutrino is left-handed, it's okay, but there can't be a anti-neutrino with helicity left-handed, it must be right-handed. So this actually does not exist. Therefore charge conjugation is not valid in all of the cases. And as we know that neutrino are basically particles used for detection in case of weak interaction. So neutrino basically interacts via weak interaction. Now charge conjugation involved in neutrino is not a possible physical process, obviously. And most of the purely hadronic weak interaction also show the violation in charge conjugation as well as in the violation in parity. Now if we only confine our interest to strong interaction, that is, if we only think about a strong interaction, then we can have another kind of parity, and that parity is known as G parity. Okay, now what is G parity? G parity is actually the multiplication of charge conjugation and then rotation. Now what is this rotation? So this rotation is actually an isospin transformation, that is rotation by 180 degree about the number 2 axis. That is the isospin axis. The second isospin axis is rotated by 180 degree in isospin space. As I told that isospin space is actually a virtual space and it has three component I1, I2, I3, where we are rotating the I2 component by 180 degree, which will eventually change the third component of isospin into minus of the third component of isospin. So for instant we rotate the second axis of isospin of pi plus, then it will convert the pi plus particle into pi minus particle. Now again, if we apply the charge conjugation, when we apply the charge conjugation on this pi minus, it will turn it back into pi plus. Okay, so we can say that charged pions are eigenstates of this combined operator, because when C and the charge conjugation and rotation are both applied simultaneously, the pi plus changes into pi minus and then suddenly changes into pi plus. So we can say that the charged pions are actually the eigenstates of this combined operator. So this is called the G parity, where R2 is the rotation of the second isospin axis in isospin space. Now this is a must remember thing, that in isospin space, don't forget that. Okay, now what is R2? R2 is actually e to the power I pi by 2. This is to be remembered. Now this G parity is actually valid for only two quarks. Mesons containing only two quarks, and those quarks are up and down. For other mesons that carry strange charm bottom or top quark, this eigenstate is not valid. G parity is kind of not valid. Now in case of a multiplate, what is the multiplate? So we have pion system, we have pi plus, pi 0 and pi minus. In all these three cases, the isospin is actually 1, 1 and 1, but the third component of isospin is minus 1, 0 and this one is plus 1 and then 0 then minus 1. Okay, so these three can be called as the multiplate containing an isospin, similar isospin. So in case of this, we use the eigenvalue of G parity as minus 1 to the power I into C. Minus 1 to the power I into C. Okay. Now, as you can see, for a single pion, obviously when we saw the pion transformation, the isospin of pion is plus 1 in any of the case, so it will remain minus 1 into charge conjugation. Now when we applied charge conjugation, after this, what we got that the particle changed into itself, so the eigenvalue of the G parity for pion is actually minus 1. Now for n number of pions emitting from a certain particle, we can have minus 1 to the power n, where n is the number of pions. So it can all G parity can also tell you that how many pions can be emitted in a particular decay. Okay, so it is an important eigenstate, that is G parity.